We've got some big changes in quarterbacks this offseason for 2026. This was not your typical quarterback free agency movement. We have got some very interesting players in new locations, so let's break down the changes and fantasy implications. Which receivers got an upgrade? Who should we pump the brakes on? Where are the quarterback battles that matter the most to us? Let's go ahead, get in the game, lock in, and let's get ready to win. The internet is enjoying a fresh batch of Kyler Murray memes, but I am actually very excited to see this truly because this is a very career defining moment for Kyler Murray. This is it. This is it for him because over the past 3 seasons, he's legitimately had just 2 games. 2 games over 300 passing yards. He was upstaged and outplayed by Jacoby Brissett, who came in and made it look easy last year. And while you could argue that it's coaching because the Cardinals have had defunct coaching, Kyler Murray has failed to reach expectations under multiple regimes at this point, and clearly weapons are not the ultimate problem. Now, Minnesota will be an upgrade in receiving corps, specifically with Justin Jefferson, but as we learned last year, unfortunately, even Justin Jefferson is not quarterback proof, and Kyler Murray still has to get him the ball. So this is where the rubber meets the road. Is Kyler Murray just an unmotivated problem, or is Kevin O'Connell truly the world's best quarterback guru? The expectations are above Sam Darnold because Kyler Murray has rushing upside. Now, I will say this. I feel far better about the Minnesota pass catchers knowing that Kyler Murray is there. Say what you want, but at the very least, I do trust him more than JJ McCarthy. So while I don't have lofty expectations, I'm not as terrified as I was with JJ McCarthy. I will draft players at an appropriate ADP with Kyler Murray. With JJ McCarthy, not so much. And therein lies the problem. We have to be cautious because this is not an anointed Kyler Murray situation. They have to go through an offseason. It is entirely possible that JJ McCarthy wins a quarterback battle. It is entirely possible that Kyler Murray gets hurt because he often gets hurt. So we have to proceed with caution here before we make any big offseason moves because there are a lot of moving pieces here. It may not feel like the most critical offseason quarterback signing, but it actually is extremely important for us from a fantasy perspective because one, Malik Willis runs and he runs very well. Perfect for fantasy football for us. And also, we've got weapons that we love and care about in this offense. So let's talk through it. Miami wasted no time. They shoved Tua out the door and immediately, like literally within an hour, ushered in Malik Willis. Considering the way that Tua has them strung up in terms of money owed, I thought that they would just unfortunately take the L this season. But they managed to work out a contract that worked for them and Malik Willis. So this is good. This is good for them and it is good for Malik Willis. Miami is not a bad landing spot. They need to make an addition into their receiving core, but Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane, very strong weapons. This, again, is very important for us from a fantasy perspective. Obviously, our sample size is very small, but in 2 starts in 2024, he had 6 carries in each game, 41 yards in one of those games, 73 yards and a touchdown in the other. In 2026, he had 2 games where he played more than 50% of snaps. And he had a total of 19 carries, over 100 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns, literally, again, in less than 2 total games. We have not seen him throw for high volume, but he has been very efficient in Green Bay. And clearly, he was well developed under Matt LaFleur. It's entirely possible that he doesn't make it through the season because, again, even though he does have a multi-year contract and he is the clear starter, just ask Justin Fields. Sometimes things go a little bit sideways. But he should be a super flex cheat code that we can trust. And a mobile quarterback opening things up for Devon Achane, magnificent. As far as pass volume, we should be very cautious with Jalen Waddle and not overdraft him because of the absence of Tyreek Hill. Because again, we will likely have a capped level of volume because of the running upside that is more focused on efficiency. And again, there's likely going to be another pass catcher added here. If there comes a young gun in the draft, something that we should be concerned about. Now let's talk about the guy that Miami kicked out. This is genuinely hilarious in my opinion. The Falcons snatched up Tua extremely quickly. I genuinely hate this. I really do. No offense to Tua. I don't think any of us wanted a quarterback battle in Atlanta between Tua Tagovailoa and Michael Penix led by Kevin Stefanski. It sounds like visually it would be like a sleep paralysis demon for me, right? The sad part of that is that Atlanta's current regime has no loyalty to Penix. And we don't exactly have a baked-in track record of reliability for him either. We have yet to see this man play more than half a season. So technically speaking, he is just as much of a risk as Tua. Yes, the Falcons did invest a first into him, but Tua was also a first round draft pick, and it wouldn't be the first time that Kevin Stefanski moved on from that type of guy, a first round draft pick. So I fear that Tua Tagovailoa, he is a Kevin Stefanski guy, in my opinion, just like from build and whatnot and capabilities. That's the kind of guy that he likes. I would not be shocked if this ends up tilting towards Tua. We will have to see, but be prepared for a quarterback battle in Atlanta. And when it comes to a practice field battle, apples to apples on a practice field, my money would be on Tua over Michael Penix. Again, in terms of the pass catchers, I mean, regardless of who's at quarterback, we love Drake London. We just unfortunately have to not overdraft him, move his ADP down for sure, because not of the quarterback situation as much of the coaching situation, right? Obviously, Kevin Stefanski, we talked about this. Kevin Stefanski loves tight ends. This will be theoretically big for Kyle Pitts. So with quarterback drama potentially flipping throughout the season and whatnot, unreliable guys, I mean, it's just a mess for these pass catchers. We trust Bijan and Kyle Pitts, unfortunately. Now, somebody that was not cut, released, or traded, Daniel Jones. Congratulations, Daniel Jones getting his little contract. Not a little contract. I mean, it was a hefty contract. The man knows how to get a bag. Him and Kirk Cousins, they can snag a bag at any time like that. We knew this was Indianapolis' intention. Alec Pierce apparently turned down other teams with better offers because he wanted to stay with Daniel Jones, which seems wild on the surface, right? But the deep balls were plentiful, and Alec Pierce thrived, so it does make sense. Plus, say what you want, Daniel Jones is clearly a likable dude. So I think this was the best solution for them. It was just more expensive than it should have been, right? But the offense did thrive under Jones, and as we talked about before, we did see a clear downturn in production once he fractured that fibula and just kind of became immobile. Now, the downside here, and why Indianapolis was probably a little bit nervous as well, is that it's entirely possible that he comes back from this Achilles injury and just isn't the same at all. We've seen it before. This is a big deal, especially for a guy who mobility is very critical to his game. So we're going to have to monitor this offseason, unfortunately, and be cautious, particularly when we're looking at Daniel Jones, because he's going to be a mid QB2 that we're interested just because of, again, his rushing upside and the weapons around him, right? But at the end of the day, we'll need to monitor it and make sure that he is actually on track to start the season. In the case that he does not come back the same, all of the Colts would suffer, inclusive of Jonathan Taylor. So this is a critical situation. But for now, we like the lack of a move because this was probably the best solution for them. They have another young quarterback on roster that they liked. So we'll just need to monitor it. They wrote him off. He didn't write back. But the Jets wrote again and forced him to come back. Geno Smith, hello, welcome home. Welcome home to the New York Jets. We talked about this. The Jets were in a defunct situation once Dante Moore backed out of the draft. None of the quarterbacks outside of Mendoza are worth an early draft pick, so them getting that second overall pick, kind of hamstrung, unfortunately. They're going to have to play a game of chicken in terms of looking at getting a rookie quarterback at fair value later in the draft after round one. Trying to figure out who is worth investing in. Perhaps they choose not to go that route and they might just be tanking for 2027 potentially there. But again, they can absolutely still draft a quarterback, so this is not a lock to start situation until we pass the draft. The Jets have weapons. Garrett Wilson, and they have the hostage of Breece Hall. I have zero faith in Frank Reich. Again, this is the Jets and their choices, man. But it hurts less if you just don't try to understand it, right? But Frank Reich, offensive coordinator, I don't like it at all, unfortunately. And it feels like the situation is not so dissimilar to Vegas, unfortunately. Geno could bounce back from a fantasy perspective, but I think we've got more than enough evidence at this point to know that this is not a player that we want to be investing in. Still, if you do happen to have him on a dynasty roster, as you do, as I do on one, just pray that he gets off to a hot-ish start and that you can trade him and call it a day. We also, in a positive, did get news just now that Justin Fields is heading to Kansas City. Obviously, that does not affect Kansas City in any way, shape, or form. And it's also not a quarterback development location, considering, the offensive coordinators are not. Eric Bieniemy is more focused. We talked about this. Eric Bieniemy is more focused on running backs, not the development of a quarterback. So perhaps he just wanted to get into a winning system, and I cannot blame him for that. He has been in some losing situations. So maybe he just wanted to get the feel of a win, right? And maybe he can just learn directly from Patrick Mahomes, and that can benefit him. But at the end of the day, him leaving does at least help mean that we won't have theoretical competition that is on roster for Geno. But again, we got to make it past the draft, but odds are I do think they are attempting to tank. And one more, we're not interested in Gardner Minshew because we're trying to use him. We're interested because them signing Gardner Minshew, the Cardinals signing Gardner Minshew, means that they're tanking. Yay! They're going to have Jacoby Brissett as the starter. Yay! We love that from a fantasy perspective. I'm thrilled. It's great for fantasy football. We don't have to worry about some rookie getting in there and being unable to get the touchdowns and volume to Trey McBride or to Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson. We don't have to worry about that. We know exactly what we're getting here. We're getting volume, touchdowns on touchdowns, Trey McBride to the moon. Our only question here with this offense is whether or not Michael Wilson can maintain that rapport that he had with Jacoby Brissett, or if Marvin Harrison Jr. bounce backs. If you watch my Dynasty video, I talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. and the potential for him to progress moving forward here. So he still can have that breakout. So that's really what we need to pay attention to. But the good news is that, both of the receivers will be ADP friendly. Trey McBride is going to be gassed up to the first round, and I'm okay with that. It's all right. We'll get there and we'll parse through as we start doing mock drafts and figuring out just where we feel comfortable drafting Trey McBride. But overall, we feel good about this because we know Jacob. Now, granted, it's a different offensive system, right? It is Mike LaFleur, who is hailing from LA, so that's not a bad thing, from Sean McVay, right? But overall, we've got a pretty clear direction here. We shouldn't get any kind of, rookie quarterback drama coming in him or here of him, them drafting a Ty Simpson or something like that. Should be Jacoby Brissett, exactly what we felt with our pass catchers last year. Call it a day. Oh, and there is one more I wanted to touch on here. We've still got some pieces to fall. There are still some quarterbacks who have to fall on locations, but one in particular that I did want to preemptively talk about is Anthony Richardson, just because we are getting rumors in terms of landing spots for him. And one that really piqued my interest was Green Bay, and not because I expect him to compete with Jordan Love. And of course, as if that happens, there will be people writing all kinds of nonsense. I want to see Anthony Richardson, and no offense to Shane Steichen, great coach. Obviously, what he was able to do and turn around with Daniel Jones, perfection. I want to see Anthony Richardson in a new system that also gives him the opportunity to be developed. Because as we just saw with Malik Willis, and they're two very different players in terms of, obviously one drafted with a first round draft capital and the other not. But with Malik Willis, what we knew was we had a talented guy in college who did not have the level of competition that you would trust to be able to transition over into the NFL, a person that you would still need to develop, right? Anthony Richardson's development got overlooked because he was playing in Florida, right? But limited experience, someone who was going to have to be developed. So if Anthony Richardson can get in there and get that same kind of development specifically from Matt LaFleur, that kind that can transition to him in the same way that we saw with Malik Willis, right? We don't need you to be a high volume passing quarterback. You don't need to do all of the deep. Your arm is fantastic. We know you've got a big arm. We know that. But you don't have to be that player, right? That can be an arsenal, a weapon in your arsenal, right? But at the end of the day, use your legs in an effective way and become an efficient passer. Can LaFleur do that for him? Can LaFleur help him develop into an efficient passer? I would like to see it. So that is my little speculative, let's talk about it just in case that does happen. So I've got something for you guys there. Because if that is the case, then you could potentially look at making some very cheap dynasty investments. Nothing expensive, right? Because this is a chance that maybe a couple years down the line, he might get a chance to actually get to start again, and having been in a system that could develop him into a better quarterback, finally become a reliable fantasy asset for us. And that wraps things up. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. You can find me across all social media platforms at It's Terra Time, so make sure that you're locked in, tune in, subscribe, turn on notifications. We got more free agency videos coming. The first one that we had talked about was the running back, so if you missed that video, be sure to check it out. I will link it here for you. Just go ahead and check out that video, and we'll have wide receivers and tight ends coming up as well, and then we'll be getting closer to the draft, so stick around.